Okay, everyone, we're going to be talking about how to find, manipulate, and import 3D models to put into your ARKit application. So we'll start with taking a very quick look and review at what you get for free from Apple. So just by choosing augmented reality app when you create a new project, get find models. Okay, so as you guys have seen before, they give you a model to get started with. It is in the .scn format, and SCN format is basically a 3D format that you can work with. It gives you a lot of information. It's very, very powerful. There is a kind of a 3D object viewer and editor in Xcode that's built in. So if you're viewing a type of .scn or .dae, you can use this 3D editor. There might be other types too, I don't know. So you can kind of see things from different perspectives, and then you can see more information about the object. So okay, right. So there's this little window down here. There's this little panel that you can open and close. And when you click on this root node here, the very top level item, you can get information about it. So you can see its name. You can set it up so its default orientation or size is different when you start the app. So you can play around with all these different things. To see the perspective you're going to see when you launch the app, you want to choose your perspective to be front. Yeah. And this will change how things are going to look when you first launch the app. So let's try that out real quick. Reflector. Okay, cool. This doesn't need to be full screen. Okay, so let me get this fired up. Okay, so now it is facing you sort of head on. And let's see what we can do to change that. One thing we can do is we can make it bigger or smaller here. So we can make it 2, 2, 2. Let's fire. Well, let's make it even bigger just so it's really obvious. We'll go 4, 4, 4. That really looks like it's the same size. Okay, maybe there's something weird about the Maybe there's something weird about it which I'm not understanding, because when I downloaded my own object before, it was totally different. So let's try this. Let's go with their mesh here. Let's triple it, 0.06, 0.06, 0.06. Let's fire that thing up again. There we go. There's our gigantic thing. Okay. So we can change the size. You have to get the right node. You have to be working with the right node. And this thing, let's bring it back down. We'll go back down to, where was it at? Point 0.01. Okay. Now what we can do is we can rotate, we can like mess around with its orientation. So we can change its Euler positions, which we talked about yesterday, which is a word that I like. So we can like make it look like it's going into like a nosedive. Yeah, so okay, now, because we set it up like that, when we launch the app, it's kind of starting off in a nosedive. And these are all things, like we talked about yesterday, these are animatable properties. So we could set like some kind of a touch handler where we can adjust the Euler angles or the scale or the position in real time. So this is just how the 3D model is presented when you first launch the app, okay? So let's pause that. What else have I learned about this? Okay, oh, so a ship has textures, right? An object has textures, right? So the textures are found on this globe-looking tab here. So on your SCN or your DAE file, you choose the texture that you want to use for your object. And you can do things like if you want to just make it white or black, right? So if we fired the app up now, it's just going to be black because that's what we use for the texture. So this is something that you're going to get from your artist. Let's go back. Texture.png. There we go. So the diffuse one is something we talked about before. This is like when light hits it and it diffuses. Okay, I don't really know what I'm talking about there, but essentially the object's diffuse property, the contents of it are what's going to give it its look on the exterior. That's like the most basic look. Diffuse. We should have to, well, okay. Okay, sorry about that. We're back. We crashed earlier. So getting back to it. We were going to look up Scene Kit Diffuse. What does that mean? An object that manages the material's diffuse response to lighting. Okay, so how does the object manage light hitting it? And that's how you see things. Diffuse shading describes the amount and color of light reflected equally in all directions from each point in the material surface. The diffuse color of a pixel is independent of the point of view, so it can be thought of as a material's base color or texture. By default, the diffuse property's contents object is white. We've seen that. Figure 1 shows the effect of setting the diffuse property's contents to a texture image on a material whose other properties have default contents. Okay. All right, cool. So it does what we thought, but now we know the words for it. Okay. So now the next thing we want to do is we want to use something besides the spaceship that we're constantly seeing. So there's a couple places you can do that. I've been using turbosquid.com. Crazy name. But TurboSquid has lots and lots of 3D models. Another one that I've been using is Sketchfab. It seems to be a little bit more modern and have nicer stuff. But I'm having a harder time finding the types of files we need on Sketchfab. So let's say we want to. So okay, Sketchfab and TurboSquid have lots of different types of model formats, right? So we can be like, all right, we can search for a house, and they have all these different types of formats, none of which in this default search is something that we can use. We can use .scn files, but you don't really find those on these types of sites. The types of 3D models that we can use are .dae, D as in dog, or .abc, alembic. And I've been finding a lot more .dae files when I search, but you can't actually. Oh, what happens if you use this? I think I may have just figured it out. Sweet. Okay, so yeah, you just type in the fact that you want a DAE on that filter list there. That's awesome. And then, you know, we're just goofing around, so we're going to look for freebies. So we're going to put in 0 for our max price. And there we go. There's a bunch of houses. There's one that I downloaded earlier, which was pretty easy. So we're going to start with that. Maybe we'll come back to one of these houses. Where's my stuff? My account. Downloads. Yeah, downloads. Okay. If you want to look for on TurboSquid, you have to sign up, but it's free. I searched for missile, and I found this missile, which is pretty sweet. And the missile has, you can get it in .dae, so that's awesome. So we're going to go back to our download page. We're going to look at all the different types, so show all. We're going to find the dae.zip. Let me make sure my downloads are all empty, so it's kind of easy to follow. Okay, so we're going to download the dae.zip. Go into downloads, we'll unzip it. And there's two things in there. There is a missile.dae file, which you can actually preview right in Finder. And it's got lighting on it, and see how like the back is not lit? It's got this nice texture. And then it's got a texture.png file. So what we're going to do is now, one thing that I've found, I don't know if this is just an Xcode beta thing or what, if I were to do like I would normally choose to do for one of these projects and just drag and drop these things into my project, I actually get a problem because it's only creating a reference. It's not actually moving, copying the file over. It doesn't give me an option to do that. So the way I've been handling that is I choose my art.scn assets folder. I find that, and then I just drag and drop my DAE and my texture directly into the folder. And yeah, we're going to replace that. Okay, so then you can see we have a missile.dae in here, and it also brought in our texture. Okay. So let's look around a little bit. So the first thing you do is you click on your .dae file and you open up your panel here by toggling this little button. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to look at our scene graph over here. And this is the tree of nodes that have 3D objects. So these little icons over here tell you what the different things are. And this thing is not labeled. So these little things are just lights. So we can kill the lights just by hitting delete. And kill this light. This thing, because SceneKit will take care of the lighting for you. This thing down here is a camera, which can give perspective, which we don't need because ARKit's going to take care of that. So we're going to delete it. And then we have 2 nodes left. And ideally, these would be wrapped up in another node. I don't even know if we can do that. Add child node, duplicate, flatten. Let's try it out. Let's flatten it. Okay, well, let me show you why first. So the one that I have highlighted is like, it is just those stripes, right? That's all that entire node was. And then this other node here, that's the main missile. So we'll call this one main missile. Oh man, I'm probably gonna spell it wrong, but whatever. And we're gonna call this one missile stripes. Maybe we'll come back and we'll try it again in a little bit. But for now, I'm actually just going to kill the stripes and we'll have our main missile here. Okay, so as of right now, and okay, so coming back to our diffuse property over here, we're going to choose, we could choose black or white, we could, another color. If we had other images in here, it would line them up with things we could choose, but we're going to choose texture.png because that's what came with this download. It's also the name of the rocket ship texture that came with the project, so that's why it overrode it the first time, but that's pretty arbitrary. You can call it whatever you want. So as of right now, we can just try to build, oh wait, okay, so missile.dae. So the only thing we have to do to get this working, because it's a .dae file, is we go to our view controller. Inside of it, our art.scn assets folder here, instead of ship, we're just going to use missile.dae. And we're going to fire this up. Let me try reflector again. Okay, so let's try this one more time. You guys can see my iPhone now. Okay, so we are looking at this gigantic missile, and I will show you what the problem is. Let's fire this thing up again. I'm backing way up. You see this thing? It's like all the way through almost to my door. I mean, that's pretty cool. It's not super practical. And it's actually sticking out through into my patio. So let's fix that up. So a couple things. Back to missile.dae. So we're going to choose our main missile here, and we're going to go, let's see. Yeah, okay, great. So I'm choosing this cube looking tab. I have my node selected, my main node. I am looking at the bounding box. Now, these, again, numbers here, these are in meters. It's almost 10 meters width, 3 meters in height. So it's huge. So what we can do is we can just simply say, let's cut it down by like 10%, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. And again, we're going to choose front from this drop-down menu here to see what it's really going to look like. And I can still zoom in. So let's try that again. I don't know why I'm having a ton of problems with the reflector today. Lila, what's wrong? Man, hold on. Lila! Lila, it's okay. Come here. Lila, what's wrong? Okay, screen mirroring is really failing me today, which is a bummer because this lesson is not nearly as good without being able to show you guys what's happening. Let's try it again. Reflector 2. There we go. Perfect. All right. So our main missile scaled down a whole bunch. Let's fire this thing up again. Show you my screen. So as you can see, it's still big. It's probably still bigger than you'd want it, but it's like a more manageable size now. So another thing we can do is that we can change our Euler angles. So again, from the front perspective, we want our missile to be going up. We can do that. So I guess kind of. Okay. So you guys can see, okay, now you can see our missile is tilted up. I guess it's kind of hard to see, but I'm afraid to unplug again. All right, I'm gonna chance it and unplug. And that way, it looks like we've rotated the missile. Okay, all right. So that's kind of a simple-ish example. That is how to deal with that missile there. Okay, we're going to look for another one now. We're going to go back to Turbo Squid and do one more. Actually, I'm not sure if there's anything useful in doing this again. Let me take a look at my sample code. start by showing you guys what I have here. And I have a 3D model of a house, which was ginormous. Oh, that's one thing I can show you. And the house was at a weird angle, and the house was huge. It was at 97.371, so I had to cut it down by 99% just to get it to fit, and I had to twist it all around. Perspective, we'll go front, and yeah, there's the model of the house. So that we can show, and you know, we can treat it like any other model. We can place it on a plane, we can place it on an anchor point, place it right in front of the screen like we've been doing when we first get started. I guess there's not too much. Oh, here is what I wanted to, okay, here's what I wanted to show you guys. One more thing before we're done for today. Back to the missile. So this DAE format is a kind of a 3D modeling format, but it's not an Apple format. One thing you can do to get performance improvements is you can choose your model, go to editor, convert to SceneKit scene file format. And you can either duplicate it, in which case you'll still have a DAE, but we'll just convert it. And I know that you are supposed to get performance benefits. I'm not exactly sure of all the benefits you can get from converting from DAE to SCN. That's something to research. So to get that to work, we just come down here and just change this out. And there we go. That builds again. So that's it. That's basically how to find the right file formats, get them into Xcode, make sure. Oh, here's something I wanted to show you guys. I was trying to remember what it was about the house file that screwed me up at first. When I downloaded the house file from TurboSquid, words I never thought I would say, TurboSquid. Okay, here's what it was. So I'm going to go to my downloads. So initially, okay, two things about this actually. One is the fact that if your model has tons and tons of polygons and vertices, that's like basically lots and lots of data about how the architecture looks. The file is huge, absolutely huge, and really it's been like slowing down my system and crashing my system. They've been so huge. So like something with 100,000 polygons and 129,000 vertices was not a good fit, at least for my rig. So you can look for things that are low poly, and low poly building, this one has like 1,000 of each or 2,000 of each, and this one was working very, very smooth. So it still looks pretty good. It's still pretty cool. Here was the trick to it though. So I downloaded, there's two tricks. The Collada file, and Collada and DAE are the same thing. You see the DAE in there, but if you see Collada, you should be good to go. So I downloaded the Collada file, and then I needed to get a separate type of, I had to get an app from the App Store just to unpack it, because it's in the RAR. So you unpack it, and there you go. You got your DAE file, and to check it out, right? It is got the default material on it. So where's all of that nice texture from here? Turns out you need to download that separately. So the _TEX is the textures. And then you unzip that. And now, there you go. So this is the file that you need basically to get the texture on your house. And I'll show you what it looks like. So Oh, screw it, let's just do it. We're going to drag in, we would rename it, right? Let's go house, I don't know about all these caps here. Let's go DAE. And we'll bring in our house. Oh, wait a minute, I gotta do my trick. So again, the trick, for me at least, there might be something I'm missing here. Right-clicking on the assets, show in Finder, and then dragging my house.dae in, and let's just call this house texture. .jpeg, drag that in as well. Sweet. Okay, so house.dae, there it is. It looks like a house. You can see they've got warning signs everywhere. Why does it have warning signs? The warning signs is because there is no texture on this house right now. So let's pop open our little window. We're going to choose the root node. So this just has one root node. So this is already, you can tell it's a little bit better designed and has a name. You can see that it's 100 meters almost wide by 100 meters high. So it's huge. So you really got to shrink this sucker down. Oh yeah. So diffuse, we want to go with house texture. There we go. See all that nice stuff. If you pick a color, yes, it'll be the color. If you pick the texture from the missile, it will be missile. You know, obviously we don't want that. So we're going to pick the one that's intended for it, and it's house texture. So just realize that even though you've downloaded the DAE file, you still may need to download the texture file as well. And that threw me for a loop for a while. And then we're going to check out our perspective by going to the front and think, oh, okay, well that looks weird. That looks like it's the roof is pointed at me. So we don't want that either. So let's mess around with that a little bit. So it looks like changing our Y values, we'll turn it that way. And then we can start turning the house on its side by lowering the X. And maybe we can get by tweaking the Z. Okay, sweet. So now we're going to go 0.01, 0.01, 0.01. And then you can still zoom in. That's not a big deal. Oh, man. Hey there, little buddy. Where are you? So please remember that I am still learning all of the SceneKit and ARKit stuff along with you guys. Let's try doing something different. Let's go perspective. There we go. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, so this isn't perfect, obviously. This looks like it was on a slope, but it's getting there. Okay. We brought the size down. Now, let me fire up reflector one more time, even though it's not really cooperating here. And, okay, yeah, so now we've got house.dae. Let's try now converting it, see if that helps our performance a little bit, because it's, So house.scn. So we're going to go back to our view controller. I'm going to go house.scn. And then fire it up. Wait. Okay, yeah, we'll fire it up, and then I will get my reflector going again. The Bluetooth is off. No. Oh, I remember there was another problem. There was already another problem I can remember. Yeah. Let me go back and show you guys. This was another thing that I learned. Okay, so back to our house.scn. Here's the trick. The default is positioning 30 meters away. So that's the last thing we want. We want that to be like 0.3 or something. 0. So let's try that again. I'm doing the wireless and the wireless development, at least for ARKit, maybe because it's really heavy files or something, does take a while. Says it's running. That's kind of weird because it doesn't feel like it is. Okay, it's being weird. Try plugging it in. Okay. I think we got it now. Hold on. Okay, there we go. There's our house. It's kind of at a reasonable size. You come around the back side of it here, check out the veranda. So much fun stuff to play with. I have so many ideas I want to do with ARKit. It's a lot of fun. Any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.